Welcome to the Explainer. You know, we're always trying to solve problems, right? But what if I told you the secret to solving a really complex problem isn't about finding the answer? It's about perfectly defining the question? It sounds like a small shift, but trust me, getting this first step right changes absolutely everything.
Okay, so check this out. The philosopher Karl Popper had this really cool way of looking at it. He said that all problems are either clocks or clouds. Clock problems are neat, orderly, logical. You can take them apart, see how they work, and fix them. But cloud problems, well, they're messy, they're unpredictable, and they're always changing. Now think about it. The biggest, toughest challenges in your own life and work, they're almost always clouds, aren't they? And then you've got the cloudiest of the clouds. These are what designers call wicked problems. And man, are they wicked. We're talking about the huge, tangled messes like climate change or social inequality. There's no easy technical fix. And what makes them so tricky is that when you try to solve one little piece of it, you might accidentally create 3 new problems somewhere else. The core issue just stays as wicked as ever. So with these huge, messy, wicked problems, where do you even start? Well, Albert Einstein actually gave us a huge clue. He famously said that if he had just 1 hour to save the world, he'd spend 55 of those minutes just defining the problem. The real work isn't in finding the solution, it's in truly understanding the question. And that leads us right to the main event for today, something called Kydland's Law. It's a simple idea with a huge impact. It basically says that if you can write down your problem step by step, super clearly and specifically, you're already halfway to solving it. The very act of writing it down forces you to untangle that messy cloud and turn it into something you can actually get your hands on. But here's the kicker, and you're gonna love this. This powerful, game-changing law, it doesn't come from some famous scientist or a business genius. Nope, it comes from a fictional character in a novel called King Rat, all about prisoners of war. It's just a great reminder that profound wisdom can pop up in the most unexpected places. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? How do you state a problem well? Well, lucky for us, it's a skill you can learn, and there's a practical toolkit we can use to start building that clarity. So some smart folks over at MIT Sloan came up with this awesome 5-point checklist. A really good problem statement, first, connects to a real goal. Second, it clearly describes the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. Third, the key parts should be quantifiable, have numbers you can track. And this next one's crucial. It has to be neutral. No sneaking the solution into the problem statement. And finally, it should be small enough in scope that a team can actually tackle it and not get overwhelmed. Here's another trick, and it's so simple, but it works like a charm. Just act like a reporter. Ask those classic questions. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. See, doing this forces you to get specific. You go from something vague like, our sales are down, to something concrete you can actually work with. Like, sales of product X dropped 15% in the Northeast region during Q3 among new customers because of a competitor's new pricing model. See the difference? One is just a complaint. The other is a starting line. All right, so we know what to do. But what happens when we don't? What happens when we jump straight to what seems like a brilliant solution, but for the wrong problem? The results can be an absolute disaster. And that brings us to maybe the most famous marketing faceplant in history. Okay, picture this. It's 1985. Coca-Cola, this iconic brand, decides to do something crazy. They're changing their secret formula for the first time in 99 years. And they were so sure about it. They'd run almost 200,000 blind taste tests, and the results were clear. People liked the new, sweeter taste better. What could possibly go wrong? Well, pretty much everything. They completely missed how much people were connected to the original Coke. The backlash was immediate and intense. We're talking about the company getting up to 8,000 furious phone calls a day. People were freaking out, hoarding cases of the old formula. The reaction wasn't just, I don't like this new taste, it was this deep emotional sense of betrayal. And this right here is the whole point of our story. Coca-Cola had solved the wrong problem. They thought the problem was, how do we beat Pepsi in a taste test? So they made a soda that won taste tests. Simple, right? But that wasn't the real problem at all. The real problem was about identity and tradition, and, as the company president later admitted, the deep and abiding emotional attachment people had to the original Coke. I mean, if you ever need proof of Kydland's Law, the new Coke disaster is it. They had a brilliant solution for the completely wrong question. It's such a powerful lesson. Before you rush off to find the right answer, you have got to put in the real work to define the right problem. So, from those massive, wicked problems to the challenges you face every day, that first and most important step is always, always clarity. So I'll leave you with this. What's one cloud in your world right now? What's one messy problem that might start to look a whole lot more like a clock if you just stopped for a minute and took the time to define it properly?